the spot. And I said, I kind of wish you had. Some controversy of fireworks might,
Well, and you explained it in your way that made sense to me. I enjoyed it. I heard your point, and it didn't lessen my enjoyment, but it gave me something to look for next time.
so, I mean, as it always works out. After the presentation, the last of the books, and John, this is what I love about John. Represents a crisis in the performance history of this. It should be studied along with contemporary essay on as a manifestation of this version. Despite, okay, so what are words I never played in black humor see played before? Solo edition comes out for portion of that. And when anyone says, well, I never learned the whole version. Is this what I wanted to do? So what is this version that one has a copy? And then he includes huge. And it says, despite all this, this really great. Which have almost all of them. Not the original council. Everything is dragged out in Congress.
Intended?
With a question mark.
Uh-huh.
The biggest departure from previous comes from the social workers.
Yeah.
Which he plays as a drunken blue.
Burst and disappear. Not the way you know it should be played. Well, the way it burst, but it should be, like, and that's what he did, he burst instead of slow.
Basically, he has this yes.
Jan did. Really reinforces the theatrical.
Yes, well, I mean, that's the trick. Is remembering when you're on the same page.
Good morning. Oh, I must not have my hearing aids up on it. I didn't hear you. Good morning. My name is Mike Wilcox. I have, in the 23 years I've been here, I've served on countless teams and committees, including 2 terms on the Board of Trustees. I'm leading this morning's service as a worship associate. Welcome to our special place. At the Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Quad Cities, we welcome all people into our beloved community of whatever age, race, class, ethnicity, physical ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or religious background. We especially welcome those joining us for the first time. We invite everyone to join us downstairs after service for coffee and conversation. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. No, good morning. Good morning. My name is John DeGreve. I'm the chairman of the Religious Services team and your treasurer, along with other things. Today I have another John Bowman tie on for those that are keeping track. This is Starry Night Van Gogh. John and Kathy, when they left to go to Minnesota, he gave me 50 ties, and I told him I would wear them when I'm doing a service. Last week, Alice Martin began our summer series with the theme of journey by asking the question from several female crones from our congregation about their journey and wisdom. Today, we're going to continue that theme of journey by having 4 men that, I suppose that makes us cronies, I don't know, of the congregation to reflect on their spiritual journeys through the rearview mirror. If you look at your order of service this morning, the graphic is that of a rearview mirror. In the rearview mirror is storms, lightning, forward in this windshield is blue skies. So we're hoping that we're all heading into the blue skies and the storms are behind us. But it also has the admonition of the objects in the mirror may be closer than they appear, because our past helps temper us for our future. I'd like to start off today's service by taking a hand poll. I'd like to know how many people here were born Unitarian Universalists. Please raise your hand. I thought it would be a minority. Just as I thought, most of us have been on a journey to discover UU as a chosen faith. In the past several services, I've wished people happy birthday. I'm behind. So if you had a birthday in May, please shout out the date. May? May. What day? 8th? 9th? May 7th. 7th. I thought there'd be more. June.
18.
4th.
15th. How about July? Ooh. 12th.
31st.
July was the popular month. Okay, well, we now sing him happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday to you. I love the vamps. Thank you, Gates. If you would join with me in our chalice lighting words, Mike will light the candle and I'll read with you the words on our order of service. The Chalice of Joy by Reverend Julie Colbert. We light this chalice to celebrate joy, the flickering flame of a candle, the flame that simmers, that dances, that cheers, the flame that heartens and encourages at hard times, the welcoming flame of this community. Now please rise in our body and our spirit in our opening song, number 361. It's in your hymnal, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Please be seated. I love that song. It just brings the energy up in the room. We have a responsorial reading today. It's number 442 in your gray hymnal or on the screen. I'll read the yellow part of it. Give you a chance to find it if you're looking for it. We Bid You Welcome by Richard Gilbert. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest. Who come to troubles, too much for you. We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart. We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith. We bid you welcome who enter this hall as a homecoming. And all together, whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. Now comes the wonderful time when we get to greet each other. In the spirit of love and fellowship, we invite you to briefly greet each other, somebody around you, especially if somebody you don't know yet. So please feel free to move about the cabin and say good morning. All right, we're going to have to reassemble the crowd. Please be seated. I don't have a gong. There you go. Today we are sharing our personal spiritual journeys with you, with the hope that they prompt you to look and ask the questions of yourself. When did my spiritual journey begin? What brought me to this place? And how is that journey continuing? Our first reflection this morning is by Mr. John Holliday.
Thank you, and John, and good morning, everyone. You don't have to say good morning. This is going to be different because I did not find my way to the Unitarian Church. The Unitarian Church found its way towards me. I came here at age 14 because my parents were invited by my mother's boss at the Bettendorf Public Library to come try out the Unitarian Church. They did, and they liked it, and so my family started attending here. I was a little upset because I had to leave friends that I had at the other church we were going to, Broadview Methodist Church. But it worked out, as you'll see. My spiritual journey can probably be pinpointed to when I was about 5 years old, My Aunt Ruth, my dad's sister, was an English teacher in a missionary school in Nigeria, a school for the Church of the Brethren. I had learned that people who didn't believe in Jesus were going to go to hell. And I thought that was unfair. So sitting in my grandmother's kitchen, I asked her, Grandma, is that true that people who don't know Jesus or don't believe in Jesus are going to hell? Oh, yes, she said, very much so. That was just grossly unfair and even cruel. And so that was the moment I became a Universalist. We'll stop at some wayposts along the way. Instead of me giving you my biography. When I was 13 years old, my family was going to Broadview Methodist Church, which was a new church in Bettendorf. And the minister there, Vern Sorensen, because it was a small church, also taught the junior high school, Sunday school class, which was after the service. I will never forget him because in my 13-year-old mind, I had a question that I wanted to ask him about the nature of God. I don't remember the question at all, but I do remember his response. He stopped everything that he was doing and turned towards me and gave me his absolute full attention and asked and responded to my question with an answer that told me that this was a question worth asking and worth me giving my attention to. I've never forgotten it. It's true what the poet Maya Angelou said. People will not remember what you said. People will not remember what you did. People will remember how you made them feel. And he made me feel real. The next waypost on this journey is difficult to talk about because it takes place in a part of existence that has no words. So I will do my awkward best to present it to you. I was sitting on the front porch at probably in my 14th summer to get away from my family. I have 3 noisy brothers and 2 parents who were not noisy necessarily, but and so I just went out on the front stoop of my house in Bettendorf and was just looking up at the stars. It was a peaceful summer night, nice and pleasant out. And suddenly, and this is difficult to explain, and you're going to be scratching your heads, suddenly I realized I was back on the porch. Only this time with a feeling that I had experienced some deeply profound, glorious, magnificent beauty, that everywhere it's beautiful, and that no harm can ever be done to us. Death is not harm. It's death. That's a tough one to explain to people, and I don't talk about it with people because it's very difficult to talk about. Because people don't believe it and because there's no words for it. If you're interested in that, in knowing some more about that kind of experience, I recommend that you read a book by Barbara Ehrenreich called Living with a Wild God. At age 18, she had had the same kind of experience and it changed her life. The next waypost takes place over 16 years. I married Barb and we had 2 children and we went to a large 1,400-member Presbyterian church that had a very rich and sophisticated sacred music program. I sang with their choir for 16 years, and over that time we had traveled. We toured Europe and sang 22 concerts in France and Germany. It was a Bach year. It was his 300th birthday in 1985. So we got to sing in East Germany, and all the old Bach in all the old Bach churches, and it was a wonderful experience. And the other thing we did was we put on a performance of Leonard Bernstein's, you couldn't call it an opera, and you can't really call it a musical, but it was called Mass, structured on the Catholic Mass. So my older son, Jamie, reminded me not that long ago, he said, "Dad, I remember you telling me that you feel closest to God when you're singing that music." And it was true. I did. The last one was when I started teaching at Grayland Country Day School, a college prep school, kind of like Rivermont Collegiate. And my department head, Tom Rice, called me down to his room and wanted to show me all the books that were available to me to be used in my classroom, plus the ones I would be handing out to the kids, because he had them stored in his room. As I was looking them over, I noticed this slender little volume about postage card size called the Tao Te Ching. And I was curious about it, so I opened it up and I read the first 16 chapters. If you read it, you know what I'm talking about. And I said to myself, wow, this is remarkably consistent with what Jesus was talking about in the Sermon on the Mount. This is amazing. Tom, can I borrow this? Oh, you can have it. So I took it home. And as a matter of fact, about 12 years ago, I started doing a daily meditation, a Taoist meditation, and that I have 7 translations of the Tao Te Ching, which I read frequently. So this is not a way station, but this is how I got here. In 1996, 2 years after my marriage had ended, I got a Valentine card from an old friend in the LRY, which I had met back in 1966, 67, when my parents decided to come here. I belonged to the licentious, rebellious, liberal religious youth. And I made good friends there. As a matter of fact, I made them rather quickly. It was nice. But after a year, we had to move because my dad took a job in Denver, Colorado. Anyway, over the years, this person would send out Valentine's cards to her friends, but they were completely anonymous. She made lovely cards. They were on cardstock or construction paper. She cut her own linoleum blocks and made her own prints, and always included some interesting quote about love. So I got those a few times over the 30 years that I was gone, except in Valentine's Day of 1996, she actually signed her name and put her phone number and her address and an AOL email address. So I thought, gosh, she probably wants me to get a hold of her. So I waited a week, and then I called her. And this September 1st, we'll have been married for 24 years. So you could call me the Christian Unitarian amongst all you Unitarians, but that wouldn't be quite right, because I really don't like the Christ. The Christ was manufactured by all the people that came after him and had no idea what he was up to. I really like that 30-year-old woodworker who lived in Capernaum in the Roman province of Palestine, as it was called by the Romans at that time. Him I like. He had good things to say, and he did good things for people. And I will never stop liking him. I have liked him all my life. So if you ask me if I believe in God, I would have to say, oh, yes, I do, but not that God. The God I like comes from the very opening lines of Bernstein's Mass. Sing God a simple song. Make it up as you go along. Sing like you like to sing. God loves all simple things because God is the simplest of all.
Thank you, John. Now I'd like to invite Joe Majenko up to share his journey in the rearview mirror.
In the rearview mirror. I had good parents. They were the children of immigrants around the turn of the 19th century. And Dad was a coal miner. The Depression was on, and they didn't have much money, so both Mom and Dad had to quit school early, around 8th grade level, to go to work to help support the family. And they were born into their religion, as most people are. They were undereducated and were good people, but didn't understand it. So when my sister and I were born, they dutifully sent me and her to a Polish Catholic school, as good Catholic parents did. So that was the beginning of my theological formation. I learned very early that the main thing was God loved you, but you had to be a good boy. And the first part of it was if you weren't a good boy, you would make the baby Jesus cry. Then as the theological lessons proceeded, you found out that if you were a bad boy, God would send you to hell and fry you forever like a French fry. So that put some fear. I was pretty good after that. They also taught, the good sisters, bless their hearts, also taught us how to feel sorry for the poor Protestant kids in the public school a block away from us, because they weren't going to go to heaven like we were. So I was so good, I became an altar boy, and I really started learning how to pray. You know, it started out, it was a Polish Catholic school, so we had the Baltimore Catechism, if some of you might remember that. And you had to memorize the questions and answers. But as an added twist, we had to do so many of them in Polish as well. But as an altar boy, I started really learning how to pray in English, Polish, and at that time in Latin as well. So that captivated me. So school went on, I got into high school. Mom and Dad said, don't get stuck like us. Do something better. Go to school. Well, you know, beyond high school, what did you do? Well, I had a mentor in high school that took me under wing, so to speak, and got me a good slant on being in education, in my educational pursuits, got me into college. He also served as kind of a spiritual mentor that had me pick up on my good Polish faith into some of the more real stuff. So I wound up at a good, strict Jesuit college for my first year of college. That was pretty good. I learned a lot more. But I was going to really pursue this stuff. So for my second year on, I was decided I was going to become a priest, Catholic priest. So I went into seminary, but not any ordinary seminary. I went into a monastery. I was going to do it right and not only be a priest, but be a monk as well. So we did the whole routines back in the old days. Again, most of it in Latin at that time. Then something happened. Pope John the 23rd came along and he said, it's awfully stale in here. Let's get some fresh air in. And he started the Vatican Council to let some fresh air into the church. Well, that was fascinating to many of us. It turned everything upside down. And so many of us started asking, wait a minute, is this what we want to do and how we want to do it with our faith? No. So many of us at that time, we called it the Great Exodus. We left different convents and monasteries, seminaries, to help people in a more modern kind of a way. So many of my classmates and so many others went into helping professions on the outside. So I went to graduate school, got my degree as a psychologist, and try to help people that way. But during graduate school, you know, it was not only leaving the monastery, it was also the Catholicism aspect. With the new pope, they started trying to close the windows again to get it like the good old days were. And we said no. And we discovered a Unitarian church at the time near Buffalo, New York, where we were. And we joined up there. Our dear wife was pregnant with twins at the time. And as part of the church, we joined something called a covenant group. 20 or 30 of us, I don't remember. But we met very often on Sunday evenings, just a gathering. It was really cool. That became our extended family outside of the Catholic umbrella. We had twin daughters. They were born into that community, into that group, and the group pitched in and really helped out in those early months of pregnancy. And then, of course, I got my degree. We uprooted and moved to the Quad Cities. We had no relatives here, no friends here. We had an apartment about 200 yards over on Winding Hills, which was just being built at that time. So this place was welcoming, and it was supportive, and it was helpful. And this, in the absence of anybody else, this became our extended family. It also was a place where you could think freely and develop your own spirituality as you so chose. So my search kept going on over the years as many trains came by honking. If you ever notice that, it's the Sunday 10 a.m. train just comes through here, right on Gates. You ought to time the gong and so on to go with the church better. Or maybe get a church horn in here, I don't know. But anyway, I continued I've always been interested in theology, spirituality, philosophy, and I kept on with my studies and so on. And to this day, I keep doing that. In older age, you don't sleep so well sometimes, so I'm often up early in the morning when nobody else is up and just studying and researching my stuff. So where am I at? I'm at peace spiritually. No longer Catholic, no longer really spiritual. I believe that this life is the one life you have. As a dear friend of mine likes to tell me, I'm in the school of one and done. So the object is, that puts an emphasis on taking this life seriously, not the next, but this one, taking it seriously, enjoying it the best you can, making do, not just for yourself, but also sharing that and being helpful and friendly to others. The Dalai Lama is kind of famous to saying, you know, when he's asked what is his religion, he says, my religion is kindness. And I think that says a lot. So back to this place, we've been here 51 years now. Tom Owentoll was the minister when we came. He was very inspirational. He wrote a lot of books. One of them was called Free Thinking Mystics with Hands. So if it was kind of a thing a while back for Unitarians to say, what would be your elevator speech if somebody asked you what you were? So if you ask me what I am label-wise, with Tom's help, I finally came to the label. I'm an emancipated Catholic, humanistic, Unitarian, Universalist, mystic. That's today. Where it goes from here, we'll see. The journey goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We've had long conversations about his one and done, so that's close to my heart.
Good morning. Excuse me. I'm Barbara Thompson, a member of the pastoral care team. As we gather today, we pause to reflect on what lies in our hearts. In this time of sharing, we take a moment to recognize our personal joys and sorrows and to read from the book of joys and sorrows, those personal life events you have chosen to share with us. And first, check online. Do we have anything today?
Anything online?
We have one from Dan Dickens. He has a huge thanks to all the amazing leaders for their dedication and service each Sunday.
And that was from
And one sorrow from Erica Pickrell. Her Aunt Kathy passed away on Friday evening. She will be greatly missed.
Okay, did you hear that Erica Pickrell, her aunt, passed away?
She also has an additional concern. A friend in Davenport had her basement wall collapse in flood. They are displaced. She is looking for three girls, three T's, girls 5 T's, and boys 10.5 and 14.5 clothing to get up.
Okay, and Erica Pickrell has someone affected by the water that we had, the flooding, so you might be able to contact her about that. And the other one's from Dan Dickens, thanking the leaders, the teachers that we have here. And we have a couple of sorrows also in our book from Ken Crokin. His grandson Leon is seriously ill. And from Greg McKee, for all those who perished, were injured, or suffered property loss in the recent storms. For what has been shared and for what remains in the quiet sanctuary of our hearts, we are grateful. Let us become aware of the energy that brings us together in beloved community. As we share a time of silent meditation, may we open our minds and hearts to a place of quiet, to a silent prayer for the healing of pain and the comfort of love. You are invited to come forward and light a candle during the musical meditation that follows.
This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with membership open to all who are in accord with our values, mission, and vision. Our congregation is entirely self-governed by the democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all of the financial support for our many ministries among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and institutional well-being. This month's undesignated plate offering will go towards the Quad City Veteran Outreach Center. This organization serves only veterans and is not connected with the Veterans Administration. No funding is received from the federal government or the state. Services include food pantry, veterans benefit counseling, housing, and job assistance, free haircuts, and more. We invite you now to participate in the blessing of giving as the ushers come among you to accept the gifts of the congregation. Please be as generous as you are able.
For all the gifts of time and treasure that you give to this congregation, we are sincerely grateful and thank you. Now I'd like to invite Dave Coe up to share his spiritual journey.
I don't know whether to thank or to hold a grudge against John DeGreve, who I consider to be my personal rabbi and guru, for having me follow the eloquence of two fine speakers this morning. So my task is to answer the question, how did I get here and why? Part of the answer is that John DeGreve asked me to be here. And whatever John wants, no, I'm not going to agree to that. Anyway, I'm a good personal friend of John, and whenever I have the opportunity to do so, I'd like to help him out. I can't say that I've ever spent countless hours on a spiritual quest or have devoted considerable time to monk-like contemplation. But I've had several of what Oprah calls aha moments, usually when I'm writing or reading poetry. Additionally, I learned a lot from wake-up calls I periodically received, both literally and figuratively. I can't begin to count the number of times my ribs uncomfortably encountered my wife's sharp elbow at various church services in various locales. To her, it was very important that I be alert and focus on the ennui-inducing monologues and not enjoy blissful escapes into dreamlike pleasantries. Any competing sugar plums dancing in my head needed to be exorcised. In that venue, I felt obligated to eat unsalted and bland beets, partially uncooked broccoli, and dried rutabagas prepared from recipes written by humorless cooks who lived in the flat earth days of yore. A few years ago, I wrote a poem entitled Backseat Ministry, which describes my perspective. In sandals on a flat earth jogging trail, running ahead backwards, seeing where we once traveled, not forward to sights alive ahead, kidnapped by a past for no ransom, from a dusty rear seat of a chariot, imagined. Over the years, I have developed a degree of cynicism, tempered by several layers of what I call audacity. My audacity, I spell A-W-E, refers to being blown away, being awestruck by something. Often its beauty occurs in a state of nature, like listening to numerous birds singing melodious songs to no one in particular, and yet knowing deep down that I am their intended audience. Or observing slabs of rocks sculpted by numerous grains of sand, blown by winds over thousands and thousands of years, sand particles continuing to write incomplete poems for us to read through moistened, gritty eyes. I can say that I am audacious in my audacity. I was raised by loving parents and one set of grandparents who continually baptized me with expressions of their love, teaching me the comforting pleasure and beauty of family relationships. We experienced a feeling of awesomeness as we celebrated the short-lived beauty of the present together. Not a prayer was ever spoken at mealtime, and I was not required to go to Sunday school. Yet there was a perceived holiness to our communal gathering. My beloved grandfather taught me to listen to the profound messages of poets when I was quite young. Those poetic excursions helped me to realize the beauty and brevity of life's experiences. My grandpa walked the walk. I remember that he had a quaint custom on occasion. When it came time for our get-together to break up after a visit, he became somewhat circumspect. When we would say goodbye to him, he would wave his hand, say, "Yeah," and look away. Sometimes he would even walk away. I found his manner to be strangely moving and instructive. He did not want to say goodbye. That was too permanent. Yet he knew, we all knew, that someday it would be deeply unacceptably permanent. In a way, that action was beautifully significant, solemn, and yet magical. My family sought, enjoyed, and maintained the beauty of our family relationships, displaying kindness toward and respect for each other and for others. That was our guidebook's message. Those concepts were deeply understood and ingrained, but they were unwritten in our Holy Family Bible, spelled with a lowercase b. Today, here in this venue, I noticed something I did not see or feel in my earlier rare visits to churchdom. Everyone here has similar versions of my family's sacred guidebook. And it is here that my wife and I discovered that your guidebooks, like ours, contain a cookbook section replete with different recipes. Recipes that actually add zest, flavor, and contentment to our taste buds. Today, here in this venue, I am freed from ancient strictures, dogmas, and diet. After this morning, you will never hear me again saying, "Give me that old-time religion." And do you know what I've observed the most while here? Men in our congregation do not need cold compresses on Sunday afternoons to soothe their bruised, aching ribs. Can the congregation please give me an amen? Amen. Thank you.
And I have the audacity of being the cleanup batter. It's amazing how the story, we did not share these stories among ourselves, so I and you have heard it for the first time today. But it's amazing the similarities that they have that bring us here and keep us here. The graphic on the cover of today's order of service shows an image of storms in the past and blue sky coming forward, with the reminder that images in the mirror are closer than they appear. Our past spiritual journeys help shape us into who we are today. We will continue to learn and grow and determine for ourselves how we journey, where we have come from, and, as always, what's closer than it appears. In a recent World article, Doug Motter defines spirituality as the awareness of the gap between what you can experience and what you can describe. The gap between what you can experience and what you can describe. He goes on to say it's about people seeking a different kind of awareness and does not necessarily require gods or souls or spirits or afterlife. This kind of spirituality would naturally vary from person to person because we each have unique abilities to experience life and to describe it, and both have the abilities to change as we learn and grow. So where did my experience come from? Where did it start? I was born June 15th, 1946, the son of Henry and Jeanette DeGreve. I dethroned my sister Donna by being the first male born. My grandparents, Alphonse and Madeline DeGreve, lived right next door to our house in Moline. My grandparents were first-generation Americans coming from Belgium in the early 1900s. I grew up under their watchful eye and their encouragement of both of them. Our family was Catholic. My grandfather helped fund and build the present-day Sacred Heart Church in Moline. It was known as the Belgian Church then because it was started by a Belgian priest, Father Coleman's. And if you lived in Moline and you were Belgian, you went to Sacred Heart, period. My journey began with baptism. I attended Sacred Heart Grade School, now Seton, through 8th grade. There I was immersed in Catholic tradition, daily Mass, catechism, confirmation, altar boy, education, and Catholic friends. I continued my Catholic education at Alleman High School in Rock Island. I was still a good Catholic youth, but I was already beginning to question those rote answers that I memorized in my catechism in grade school. I questioned hierarchy and power. Why is this and why is that? I was beginning my own search for truth and meaning of my spiritual journey. Everything was thrown into question when I went from Alleman to the University of Iowa. Iowa City was a whole new world of different cultures, diversity, and belief. One of my favorite jokes is a story about, we'll say, the Universalist who died and went to heaven. And when he was up in heaven, he met St. Peter, and St. Peter was giving him a tour around and showing him all the wonderful things in heaven. And every place he went, there was a brick wall, kind of like the version of China, Great Wall of China. So finally, the Unitarian Universalist says, what's with the wall? And St. Peter said, don't worry about it. It's the Catholics. They think they're the only ones up here. This quest led to an acceptance of others and new spiritual growth. I remember taking a course in religion and human culture at Iowa. This course presented me with an aha moment. Differences and similarities between all major religions of the world brought me to question my faith and beliefs. Catholics weren't the only ones. I gradually became disillusioned and liked all rebellious children of the of the 60s. I threw my faith and my belief out the window for a while. I married Jan at the end of college at a Catholic nuptial mass in the Polish Catholic Church, Joe, just for you, in Moline, Holy Trinity. It was done there to keep peace in the family. Both families were Catholic. Holy Trinity won, right, Jan? Anyway, we were the last marriage that was performed at Holy Trinity Church. They closed it shortly thereafter and moved it to Christ the King Church in Moline. But whatever they did must have taken, because we just celebrated our 58th wedding anniversary July 1st. Shortly after getting married, I won the only lottery that I never wanted to enter. My number came up and I was drafted into the Army. I was away for the first 2 years of our marriage. My first anniversary was spent at Fort Leonard Wood in basic training, and the second was in Vietnam. You're supposed to find God in a foxhole, I have been told, but I can tell you I did not. I was angry for being drafted, angry for being in a stupid war, and angry that I was not appreciated on my return. An honor flight in 2022 has helped correct that feeling of non-appreciation. It's still emotional, sorry. After the Army's 2-year interruption, Jan and I came back to Moline and started our life together. Our son Daryl was born soon after, and we started dabbling in church again. He was baptized Catholic, what a surprise. Made his first communion. He attended religious education programs on Wednesday evenings, but I still felt sidelined. The God of my childhood no longer fit my adulthood. I spent the next 10 years trying to decide if I was an agnostic or an atheist. I didn't know what a Unitarian and a Universalist was. Maybe I would have thought about that at that time. But I guess as far as the agnostic and atheist, I was a little bit of both during that time. And then in 1983, Crucial came into my life. Crucial is a short course in Christianity. It's a weekend retreat. I always tell the story about my brother-in-law, Jim Cavins, lying to me to get me to attend. The husbands had to go before the wives went, and Jan wanted to attend. So I said to him, if it had anything to do with the Catholic Church or Christianity, I don't want to go. He assured me it did not. I have long forgiven him for that lie. I went and I was blown away. Some of my questions were answered, but more importantly, I experienced 72 hours of acceptance and unconditional love, love so palpable you could feel it. I was radically changed and returned to my Catholic roots at Sacred Heart. I began singing in the folk choir, and that gig lasted for 15 years. Our daughter Anne was born during this time, and she was baptized and confirmed, and today she is converted to Judaism, but that's her story to tell. So how did we get to here, you? Well, my daughter Anne and her husband Jason were married by Reverend Roger Butts, who was a former minister here. After they were married, my daughter said to me, "You know, Dad, you really are a closet Unitarian." So I came out of the closet. I came here to see what it was all about. And as Jan and I entered the building that day, we were greeted by Henry and Vivian Becker and Jim and Ellen Kelly, friends that we had known for a long time. I have continued to be on that spiritual seeker over the years. I have read and studied many books and authors. I have participated in workshops and discussion groups. I have meditated. I have experienced past life regression. I practice Reiki. I have participated in earth-centered rituals and more. I am here because there is a search for truth and meaning, because we can discuss and have differences of opinion and still respect each other, because I am encouraged to speak and present Sunday services like today as chairman of the religious services team, and because we are a friendly, welcoming community, old friends and new, and because I could be personally involved, because there is no concrete dogma or answers, just more questions. The word Unitarian means a belief in one God, unitary. I believe there are many ways to that same joyful conclusion. I am a theist. I believe that there is an energy that flows through us, through all of us, that has existed for all of time, that we are stardust. Rob Bell, in his book Love Wins, said that there is an energy in the world, a spark, an electricity that everything is plugged into. The energy pulses through all of creation, sustaining it, fueling it, and keeping it going, growing, evolving, reproducing, and making more. He also comes to the same conclusion that the Universalist church came to many years ago, that everyone gets to heaven, that God is love and love is a relationship. Buckminster Fuller said that God is a verb. That's all the difference, that all the differences of skin color, language, dialects, multi-ethnicity, multi-sensory, multi-everything fade away, similar to our principle respecting the interconnected web of all existence. I have found that the longest distance that I have to travel is that 12 inches from here, from your head to your heart. We have all arrived through our own unique journeys. Ours is a chosen faith. That's the title of this book that was given to me when I signed on to becoming a member 20 years ago. Our banner on the balcony and on the electronic sign says, "Our community wants to be your community. Together we can face the road ahead looking for blue skies. I invite you to come and enjoy the ride, and every once in a while take a peek in the rearview mirror to see how far you have really come. May it be so." Please stand and join in body and our spirit on our closing song, number 354, "We Laugh, We Cry." watch that baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our minds to the spirit of His child. We believe in love and the faith of love, and we have found a time to be together. In the place of grace, we share wonder of you, and we believe that growing is the answer. The wonder and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, memories we share will linger on and on. And we believe in love and the joy of love. I have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow. We have the gift to believe. And peace with is the answer. The questions of this life, we seem to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together to make sense of what we find. And we believe in love and the strength of life. And we have found the joy of being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see. Even to question truly is the answer. You may be seated. Please join with me as we extinguish our chalice. The words are from David Breeden. May your heart dance in wisdom and wonder. May golden light and a whispering breeze fill your moments with joy. The very spark of being. Live like a sage, play like a child, dance with the moments as they arrive.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gail Springer. For those of you who don't know me, I gladly serve this congregation in many areas, but I'm up here today giving an announcement because I am on the Ministerial Search Committee along with Darcy Anderson and Tom LeJudas. We have communicated with 3 prospective candidates. I am happy to report that we have interviewed one, and we have recommended to the board, for their consideration. And the board will be interviewing her this upcoming Thursday. If you have any questions, I'll be downstairs for coffee. Thank you.
We do have some further announcements. If you have an announcement for our Sunday service, please send it to office@uucqc.org by 12 noon on Thursday before the service. We have an announcement from Kathy Soley of the Adult Religious Ed Team. Next Sunday, July 20th at 9 a.m. in the lounge, we continue with our third event of UU Conversations, Centered in Love. We will be discussing whether making assumptions can complicate our interactions. Please join us if you can. In 2 weeks, on July 27th, you're invited to a forum at 9 a.m. in the lounge. Join Marissa Schmidt-Lazio, who is the daughter of Dee and Mike Lazio, Child Advocacy Program, co-director of the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights, for an update on the status of the current administration's policies on unaccompanied children immigrants. We invite you to listen and ask questions as immigrant children and their families cope with current practices. We have an announcement from the music team. The music team is encouraging all interested musicians to consider performing during a service. Selection should reflect the monthly theme, but flexibility is allowed. There are also musical groups to join, such as the choir, chimes, and ukes. In the winter, Guitar Jam meets on a weeknight at the church. Please see a music team member interested: Doug McCullum, Gail Springer, Hannah Harrington, Karen Fowler, or Gates Thomas. Finally, let me draw your attention to the additional announcements printed on the back of your order of service.
And finally, inside your order of service today was a slip of paper where the board is asking for your input. So please read it if you have some thoughts on how you'd like us to be headed next year. There's a box out in the hallway. You can deposit it, or you can send it directly to Lori at chair at UUCQC. So, John and Joe and Dave and I would like to thank you for being here today. Hopefully we have inspired you to look into your rearview mirror and to review your personal spiritual stories. As our closing song says, we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found the joy of being here together. And even to question truly is the answer. When you go downstairs today for coffee and conversation, we invite you to look around and find someone that you don't know well and ask them to share their story. Maybe ask them to share their spiritual story. The point is not that you share, but that you share and you truly listen without judgment. Everyone here has a story to share. It is not only by listening, and it is only by listening and truly hearing each other that we make the connection and grow into a caring community. So that's your assignment. As you go downstairs, go forth and share your stories. Thank you.